Good morning, students. Today we are going to start new topic, new chapter, nuclei. So already we have discussed about Rutherford alpha scattering experiment in the previous chapter, atoms. So where the results of Rutherford alpha scattering experiment, by the results he predicted that the total positive charge of the atom is concentrated in a single point and a smaller volume, and not only the charge, total mass of the atom is also concentrated in a single or in a smaller volume of the atom, and that area, that region he called them as nucleus. So the concept of nucleus was given by Rutherford on the basis of his alpha scattering experiment. Now nuclei is the unit which have the detailed study of nucleus. So we study in detail about the nucleus. So already we know that electrons are discovered by J.J. Thomson in a discharge tube when the pressure of the gas is 0.001 mm of mercury and a high voltage is applied between anode and cathode. Electrons are emitted. Similarly, Goldstein discovered the protons in discharge tube only, where instead of a flat cathode, he took a perforated cathode. That means having some holes on the cathode. He observed some radiation has passed through that holes. He named as canal rays, and later it was found that those rays were of positive charge or deflected in electric field. So they named as protons. Okay, and by Rutherford experiment, the total positive charge of atom is in 1 point. So that we know about that one. Now, discovery of neutron. Okay, so neutron, as we know, neutron is discovered by Chadwick. Okay, but before Chadwick, in 1930, two scientists named Bothe and Becker these two scientists made an experiment that they allowed the alpha particles to incident on beryllium and boron sheets. Okay, first in 1930 these two scientists made an experiment that they bombarded the beryllium sheet and beryllium sheet with alpha particles. Alpha particle means, as you know, the helium nuclei, Hg24. So when these two alpha particles are made to incident on beryllium sheet, they observed that some radiation has emitted through beryllium. Okay, when alpha particles are made to incident on this beryllium, so some radiation was observed from beryllium target. So these two scientists assumed that this radiation has shown this radiation is not deflected in electric field and magnetic field. They observed that this radiation is not deflected in electric field and magnetic field. So they assumed that this radiation may be gamma rays, because gamma rays also has not deflect in electric and magnetic fields. So they thought this radiation which is emitted from beryllium is gamma rays, and they allowed this radiation through lead block or lead sheets. Okay, they allowed these radiation to pass through lead. It was observed that it has penetrated through lead it was penetrated through lead, even the thickness of the lead is also increased. That means even in thin sheets of lead also, thick sheets of lead, this radiation appears to be penetrating. So they confirmed that this radiation has high penetrating power. Okay. First they observed that these radiation has not deflected in electric and magnetic fields. So that's why they assumed that these radiations are gamma rays or gamma radiation. But when these radiation is allowed to pass through lead, it was penetrated through the lead, even thick sheets of lead also. That means these radiation has high penetrating power. So this was another assumption. So another property they observed is these radiation has high penetrating power. So they made calculations on the absorption of energy of this lead. So the energy of these radiations is greater than that of this gamma radiation. So gamma radiations, so they thought, and not only that, these radiations has a property of not ionizing the gases. Okay. So it is also observed that these radiation is not ionizing gases, whereas gamma rays has a property of ionizing gases. So these two, so they cannot assume that those radiations as gamma rays because they are not ionizing gases. Okay. So they named it as beryllium radiation, high penetrating beryllium radiation. So first they assumed that it is gamma rays as it is not deflecting in electric and magnetic fields, but it has a high penetration power and low ionizing power. And these radiations are not ionizing gas molecules, whereas gamma radiation can ionize gases. So that's why they named it just beryllium radiation. Okay. Next, in 1932, Joliet and Curie, another scientist, made experiment on transmutation of elements. They observed that when these radiations are allowed to pass through hydrogen abundant materials or hydrogenous materials like paraffin, wax, they observed that these radiations knock out protons from these materials. As a result, high speed protons are emitted from these materials, are expelled from these materials. Okay? When alpha particles are made to bombard on beryllium target, and those radiations are emitted, and these scientists, Joliet and Curie, allowed those radiations on a hydrogen abundant materials or hydrogenous materials like paraffin and water. Some high speed protons were emitted. That means these radiations knocked out the protons from these materials. As a result, high speed protons are emitted from these radiations, from these materials, paraffin and water. Wax. And the energy of these radiations, their calculations made they made calculations on the energy of these radiations, and for their calculations they observed that these radiations have the energy of these radiations are different when incident on different target materials like paraffin or wax and any other material. So the energy of these radiations are calculated to be different for different targets. That means when they are made to incident on nitrogen and argon also, they got different values of energies. Okay, so these discrepancies were cleared by Chadwick in 1932 itself. Chadwick cleared this experiment as these radiations are not gamma rays, and these radiations are nothing but massive particles. These rays consist of some massive particle, or so that he made calculations applying the law of conservation of momentum, as these particles are knocking out a proton from the hydrogenous materials. The mass of these particles is also equal to that of proton, because a lighter particle cannot knock out a massive particle. So Chadwick assumed that these radiations are some particles whose mass may be roughly equal to protons, so that they can knock out the proton from these materials. Okay, so in order to knock out a massive particle, lighter particles cannot knock out proton. That means a massive particle. So a particle whose mass may be equal to that of the particle can knock out. So he made clear that these rays are consists of particles whose mass is approximately. In 1932 itself, Chadwick made another experiment and cleared these discrepancies. So what Chadwick thought is, applied the laws of conservation of momentum and energy, and he modified that these radiations are not lighter particles, because if they are lighter particles, they cannot knock out the proton. That means their mass should be approximately equal to that of the proton, so that they can knock out a proton. So he predicted that these radiations are not lighter particles, and these are some massive particles whose mass may be nearly or roughly equal to that of proton, so that they can knock out proton from these materials. Okay, so he made it clear that these radiation consists of particles whose mass approximately equal to that of proton, or roughly equal or slightly greater than that of proton, so that they can knock out proton from these hydrogenous materials. Okay, and next one, as these particles are not deflected, these radiations are not deflected in electric and magnetic fields, so he suggested that they are electrically neutral. So they are electrically neutral, and their mass is approximately equal to that of proton. So he named them as neutrons. So thus neutrons was discovered by Chadwick. Okay, so and the first equation predicted by Bothe and Becker is when helium, that means alpha particle, was made to hit on beryllium. So they predicted an equation like this: 613 plus gamma radiation. This is the first predicted equation by these scientists. But later Chadwick modified this equation as helium 24, that means alpha particle, is bombarded with this beryllium target. He predicted an equation like this: 616 plus neutron. Okay, so this is the equation predicted by Chadwick. And the discovery of neutron by Chadwick was given by the experiment like this. So the apparatus consists of So this is the experimental arrangement of Chadwick. In this, so alpha particles are emitted from this radioactive source, polonium, and they are made to incident on this beryllium target, Be, so that neutrons are emitted from this beryllium, and when these radiations are allowed to pass through hydrogenous materials, paraffin or wax, then high speed protons are emitted which are detected by this ionization chamber. So ionization chamber is a particle detector which detects the charged particles and works on the principle of ionization of gases. So as charged particles, moving charged particles in a gas ionize the gas, so that these, based on that principle, this ionization chamber works and detects the charged particles by the amount of current or by the amount of ionization current and the velocity of the charged particles. Okay, this is the experimental arrangement for the discovery of neutron by Chadwick. Okay, in this, alpha particles are made to incident on beryllium so that neutrons are emitted, and when these neutrons are allowed to pass through these hydrogenous materials, high speed electrons are emitted from these materials which are detected by this ionization chamber, and the equation for this experiment is given by He24 Be94 is equal to C1612 plus a neutron. Okay, now the properties of neutrons. Okay, first one is they are electrically neutral. They are electrically neutral and they are not deflected. As they are neutral, they are not deflected in electric field or magnetic field. Okay, and second property is they have high penetrating power and a low ionizing power. Okay, the first property is they are electrically neutral so that they are not deflected in either in electric field and magnetic field. They have high penetration power and low ionization power. That means they can penetrate through even thick lead sheets also, but they cannot ionize the gases. So high penetration and low ionization power. And third one is they are stable inside the nucleus. But when they are out of nucleus, their lifetime is 1000 seconds. That means they will live forever inside a nucleus, but once they are out of the nucleus, they are not stable and their lifetime is about 1000 seconds. After this time 1000 seconds, they decay, disintegrate into an electron, proton and antineutrino. Okay. Inside the nucleus it is stable, but when it is outside the nucleus it cannot live forever, so its lifetime is only about 1000 seconds. After this 1000 second, it will decay or disintegrate into an electron, proton and antineutrino. So a neutron gives out to be like this. Okay, so that means a neutron disintegrates into a proton, electron and antineutrino. And fourth one is when these neutrons allowed to pass through paraffin, wax, paper, etc., their velocity is reduced. Okay, when these neutrons are allowed to pass through these materials like paraffin, wax or paper, their velocity decreases or their velocity is reduced, and the slow neutrons are called thermal neutrons. That means slow neutrons are called thermal neutrons. This is another property of neutrons. That means when they are allowed to pass through these materials, their velocity reduces, and the slow moving neutrons are called thermal neutrons. And fifth property is, just like the electrons, as the electrons is considered as wave according to our de Broglie hypothesis, electron is a wave. So similarly, this neutron is also associated with waves, and these waves exhibit diffraction in crystals. So that means neutrons are also associated with the de Broglie waves, and these neutron waves exhibit diffraction in crystals. So this neutron diffraction is used in crystallography. That means crystallography means crystal structure determination. So these are the main properties of neutrons. The first one is they are in electric and magnetic fields. Okay, this is the first property. And second one is they have high penetrating power and low ionization power. That means they can penetrate through large distances but cannot ionize those materials. And third one is they are more stable when they are inside a nucleus. That means their stability is more when they are inside the nucleus. When they are out of nucleus, their lifetime is 1000 seconds only. After these 1000 seconds, they will decay into a proton, electron and antineutrino. That means the neutron disintegrates into an electron, proton and neutrino by this equation. Okay. Next, when these neutrons are allowed to pass through the materials like water, paper, wax, paraffin, their velocity is reduced. And the slow move, that means when they are allowed to pass through these materials, that means the neutrons emitting from these materials, their velocity is reduced. And these slow moving neutrons are termed as thermal neutrons. So remember that whenever you come across with the term thermal neutron, means it is a slow moving neutron. Okay. So these slow moving neutrons are called thermal neutrons. And fifth property is these neutrons exhibit diffraction. That means de Broglie wave is associated with neutrons, and those neutron waves are diffract in crystals. So this phenomena, this property is used in crystallography. Okay, these are the properties of neutrons. Okay, they are electrically neutral, they have high penetration power, low ionizing power, their lifetime is 1000 seconds. After 1000 seconds, they will disintegrate into or decay into electron, proton and antineutrino. When they are moved through, when they are allowed to pass through these materials, the velocity is reduced, and those slow neutrons are called thermal neutrons, and they exhibit diffraction. Okay, these are the properties of neutrons. Now, we define units of mass and energy, because by Einstein theory mass and energy are convertible, interconvertible. That means mass can be converted into energy, energy is converted into mass. So that is Einstein theory. So we define the energy and mass in terms of nucleus. So for usually the unit of mass is kg and unit of energy is joule. But for subatomic particles like electrons, protons and neutrons, this 1 kg is a larger unit of mass. So in nuclear physics we define another unit of mass called atomic mass unit. These are AMU, or simply they are called U. That means atomic mass unit. Atomic mass unit U. Okay. So the one atomic mass unit is defined as the 1/12th part of carbon C16 C612 isotope. That means one atomic mass unit is the mass of 1/12th part of atom of carbon 612. Okay, 1/12th part of carbon atom 612. This is defined as 1 AMU. So one atomic mass unit is 1/12th part of 1 gram, 1/12th part of mass of C1612 atom. Okay. So mass of 1/12th part of, or mass of C16 atom by 12. This is the 1 AMU, 1 atomic mass unit. But as we know, 1 mole of atom, 1 mole of substance consists of 12 gram of carbon atoms. So as you know, 1 mole is equal to 12 gram of C612. This is by definition of mole. But 1 mole consists of Avogadro number of atoms. That is, 1 mole consists of n number of atoms. That is 6.023 10 power 23. This many number of atoms. That means 1 mole consists of n atoms and 12 gram of, that's 1 mole is nothing but 12 gram of C1612. It consists of this many number of atoms. That means we can define this as 12 by n. So this equal to 6.023 10 power 23 number of atoms. Okay. So if we divide this as 12 gram of C16 by 12 divided by 6.023 into 10 power 23, we get the mass of 1 atom. Okay, 1 atom in gram. So by 1 mole we know 1 mole is equal to 12 gram of C612, that equal to Avogadro number of atoms. That means 1 mole consists of this many number of atoms. So this many number of atoms mass is 12 gram of CO. Now 1 atom of this, that means you divide this, we get the mass of 1 atom. So we can write like this here. This is 1/12 into 12 gram N. This we get in gram. Now if you take this N in kg, then we directly write like this. So 1 by 12, that means 12 will get cancelled, that equal to 1 by n. This equal to 1 by 6.023 into 10 power, actually for gram mole it is 23, for kilomole it is 26. So this value gives 1.660565 into 10 power minus 27. So this is given as 1 atomic mass unit. Okay. So 1 atomic mass unit is equal to 1.660565 10 power minus 27 kg. So usually in problems we take it as 1.67 10 power minus 27. Okay. Now in terms of atomic mass unit, the mass of proton is 1.00727 AMU. Mass of proton is 1.00727 atomic mass units. If you express one atomic mass unit is this one, then this is the mass of the proton. And similarly, mass of neutron is 1.00866 units, and that of electron is 1.00055. Sorry, not units. So this is mass of electron in AMU, mass of neutron in AMU, mass of proton in AMU. Okay, you just remember this. In any problems in nuclear physics, we use atomic mass unit, that is 1.660565 10 power minus 27, or roughly we can take 1 AMU is equal to 1.67 10 power minus 27 kg. So this one atomic mass unit is slightly greater than that of the proton mass, and neutron mass are slightly greater than 1 AMU, because it is 1.00727 1. In this also neutron mass is slightly greater than that of proton. Okay. Now energy unit, in actual energy of unit is joule, but in atomic physics and nuclear physics we always use the unit of energy as electron volt, EV, we express in EV, but in nuclear physics usually we express in MEVs, million electron volt or mega electron volt. Okay, already we have defined this electron volt in previous chapter. So 1 electron volt is the amount of work done in moving an electron between 2 points of potential difference of 1 volt. Okay, so 1 electron volt is the amount of energy or amount of work done in moving an electron between 2 points which differ by a potential difference of 1 volt, and that we define as 1 electron volt, and one that is we define as, actually in electricity the work done is given by potential into charge VQ. Suppose here we are moving electron, that means charge Q is equal to E and volt V is 1 volt, then it is 1 volt multiplied by charge of electron is 1 into 10 power minus 19, and this is joule. So this amount of work done is called 1 electron volt. So 1 eV is equal to 1.6 10 power minus 19. So what about MeV? So million electron volt is, so already electron volt is this one. So MeV is equal to 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 into 10 power 6. That is 1.6 into 10 power minus 13 joule. So you remember these two. So million electron volt means 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 13 joule. So in this nuclear physics we use the units of mass and energy as MeV and MeV. Energy is expressed in MeV and mass is expressed in atomic mass unit, these two. And conversion is 1 MeV is equal to 1.6 into 10 power minus 13 joule and 1 AMU is equal to 1.67 into 10 power minus 27 kg. So you remember these two. Okay. Now the composition of nucleus. Okay, nucleus composition. Okay, so what nucleus consists of? Nucleus consists of positively charged protons and neutral particles, neutrons. So inside the nucleus, protons and neutrons. So protons and neutrons are inside the nucleus. So these two particles collectively called, protons and neutrons collectively called nucleons. So the particles which are inside the nucleus are called nucleons. So protons and neutrons both are called nucleons. Okay. So nucleon means proton, either it is a proton or maybe a neutron, but both are called nucleons. So we usually represent the nucleus by X, A, Z or X, A, Z like this also. So X is the element, the nucleus of a particular element. Then this A is, Z is called atomic number and A is called mass number. Okay. Z is atomic number and A is mass number. So Z atomic number, Z represents number of protons and A represents number of nucleons. Nucleons means protons and neutrons. That means protons plus neutrons. Okay. So Z represents the number of protons and A represents sum of the protons and neutrons. So number of neutrons we can calculate by A minus Z. Okay. So a nucleus is represented like this: Zx, Za. Z is atomic number, A is mass number. So A represents mass of number of nucleons, that is number of protons and neutrons. Whereas Z represents only the number of protons. So number of neutrons is calculated by A minus Z. And next we define isotopes. Okay, isotopes are the nuclei of the same element having same atomic number but different mass numbers. Okay, same atomic number, that means same Z but different A, belongs to same element. nuclei of same element, nucleus of same elements, but which are having same number of protons but different number of neutrons, or same atomic number but different mass number, like this. So these are the isotopes of hydrogen: H11, H12, H13. That means here the atomic number is same but the mass number is different. Mass number is different means number of neutrons is different. Okay, similarly O816, O817. Here also the atomic number is same but the mass number is different. Okay, so nuclei of same element having same atomic number but different mass number are called isotopes. And next one, isobars. In this the interchange, that means same mass number, different atomic number, belongs to two different elements. Nuclei having same atomic number but differ in same mass number, differ in atomic number. That means this C614 and N714, for example. That means here the mass number is same but the atomic number is different. So these are called isobars. So isobars means nuclei having same mass number but different atomic numbers. Next one, isotones. Isotones means nuclei having same number of neutrons. That means suppose O818, N717, F919. That means number of neutrons here it is 17 minus 710, here 18 minus 810, 19 minus 910. So isotones means nuclei having same number of neutrons. Those are called isotones. Okay, so isotopes, isobars, isotones. Remember that isotopes, Z is same, A is different, like this. Isobars, Z is different, A is same. And isotones, they have same number of neutrons is same. So these are three different types of nuclei. So isotopes, isobars, isotones. Nuclear size. Okay. So the approximate size of the nucleus was obtained by Rutherford experiments only. So in Rutherford experiment, the distance of closest approach, that means suppose if we take it as nucleus, then these alpha particles retrace their path, and this is called distance of closest approach. Okay, and this distance of closest approach in Rutherford experiment is about 10 to the power 15 meter. So it is made an approximation that the nuclear size is also in this 10 to the power minus 15 meter range. Okay. So if an atom, a nuclei, the volume of a nuclei having a mass number A, the volume of a nuclei having a mass number A, it is found that the volume of the nucleus is proportional to the atomic mass number of that particular nucleus. Okay. So the volume of the nucleus is proportional to the mass number of the particular nucleus. So volume means we can write it as 4 by 3 pi r cube is proportional to A. That means these 4 by 3 pi, all these are constants. We can write r cube is proportional to A. So r is proportional to A power 1 by 3. Okay. So we can write r is equal to r0 into A power 1 by 3, where this r0 is a proportionality constant where r0 is a proportionality constant and whose value is 1.2 into 10 power minus 15 meter. Usually the nuclear distances are measured in Fermi. So 1 Fermi is equal to 10 to the power minus 15 meter. So remember this. So here we can write it as 1.2 Fermi or okay. So the size of nucleus as calculated is from Rutherford experiments only. So based on the closest approach, distance of closest approach, nuclear size or nuclear volume is estimated to be proportional to the mass number of that particular nucleus. So based on that, the volume is proportional to mass number, and that we can derive that the radius of the nucleus is proportional to the 1/3 power of our mass number. So and that the radius of the nucleus is given by this relation. The radius of a nuclei of mass number A is given by r is equal to r0 A power 1 by 3, where r0 is a proportionality constant, that is 1.2 into 10 to the power minus 15 meter. Okay. This is the relation of radius of a nucleus. Okay. So from that we can calculate the volume, or reverse case we can. So volume is proportional to A. Okay. So depending upon the number of nucleons, the size of the nucleus depends. Okay. Okay.